Hello, welcome to another episode of Global Pause, Rethink the Future. So, in today's podcast, I want to talk about opportunity cost and, really just look at that in a little bit more, broaden the concept from the way how that we understand it. The way how we usually understand it is always in reference to a foregone opportunity when we are, considering our choices. So, if we're looking at our way of life as being a choice, in order to understand the opportunity and the cost of our choices, then it kind of presupposes that we need to give due consideration to what would be, that opportunity foregone. But I'm probably going to look at it from the aspect of the way how business tends to frame its opportunity. So the way how it orientates towards the market. So, when a market, I should say. So when we're looking at framing it, I'm going to put it from the context of what business presupposes as far as its opportunity. Because, it presses upon us because if you're looking at a different way of doing things, or a different way of giving and receiving, and we're talking about the orientation towards life, you're literally looking at the opportunity that presents itself to do something differently. So when you're looking at opportunity cost, you could say, well, opportunity cost is this whole way of life that we can engender, but then we work back, well, okay, where are the opportunities present itself to engender, what would be, what would diverge. And so therefore, when you're looking at opportunity cost, you can literally look at it every single individual instance where that would arise, where the alternative would present itself to abandon a way and then to orientate towards another way that obviously diverges. So, when we are market orientated and the way how businesses approaches us, it always takes the opportunity that it's focusing on as being beholden to a market. And so the way how it approaches that opportunity is defined according to the commercial imperative, which is said to underwrite the legitimacy of the business, of the activity that it's focused on. But in that regard, what it does is it very much defines opportunity according to the want that is meant to reign there. So the consumer is presupposed and you have want. And so therefore, when you're looking at the opportunity that the business is focused on, it's a tacit acknowledgement that you are only ever considered to be a consumer. And so therefore, your only due concern is the satisfaction of the want. Okay, so I always frame this from a consumer market. So I always do this. I just presuppose that's what we're talking. If we're market orientated and we're consumers, then we only really need to focus on the consumer market. The secondary market is immaterial, especially when it all orientated towards what we presuppose for our life, which is life. So you can just look at the end market or the consumer market, because then if you potentialize something in the consumer market, you ultimately are potentializing all the other secondary markets as well, eventually anyway. So when the business has defined the opportunity, well, then the way how it would differ is to not consider the opportunity to be defined by want. Now, if it was to not consider it in that manner, then the way how it would define opportunity would not be defined by the opportunity by that specific market either. So when you're looking at the way how you are changing the opportunity and the cost that is not crystallized as being a cost, because business is beholden to a way of doing things that doesn't ever consider the way towards the opportunity is to be implicated within the culture that it takes itself for. Culture in that regard is just the work environment and the way how the culture, the business is structured according to what is presupposed, which is the opportunity that it's focused on. So it never gives due consideration to the way and to implicate that its way towards, to have a bit of a broader view towards it. If it presupposes life, and we're all orientated towards life, then to give context to a difference, you would have to obviously implicate the way towards. But to do so would mean to say that the opportunity is not beholden to a market. Now, does that mean to say that that opportunity is foregone when you were to say problematize, let's say, that orientation? Well, the answer is no. Of course, it's not. What you're doing is that you're broadening your field of vision where the opportunity for that specific market still exists there, but you haven't defined the way how you're orientating towards the person. You presuppose a person's there, and maybe you might, through communication, you might give the appearance of them being a person, but because you've defined opportunity according to a market, and so therefore the tacit acknowledgement of a reduction of agency, irrespective of you might tout that, they're always considered to be a consumer potential customer. So if you work back and implicate the way towards the market that you presuppose, but then implicate that, so therefore the opportunity is outside the scope of the market. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for the opportunity? Well, the way the opportunity presents itself in the way how you're engaging people. So in that manner, opportunity is not beholden to want. Opportunity is not beholden to the market. Now you could say, well, why would a business want to do that? Okay, well then let's work back and consider what is the current situation that we find ourselves civilizationally. Does business do anything at the moment that would kind of give an indication that they are trying to engage people as people, but they're still engaging them in a manner where they're giving more due regard to people that are not just consumers, but are they still tethering their understanding as such, but still tethering it to want? Because, and I always talk about this, that when businesses tout values and intangibles, then ultimately the opportunity is still beholden to the want. So as much as I might say that you're engaging with a fuller scope of what it means to be human, if it's still orientated towards want, then the business is still considering the culture that it has as defined according to the opportunity that is still market opportunity. It hasn't gone and extended beyond the frame of reference as much as it might be highlighting values and whatnot. So in that manner, the opportunity cost, if you're looking at it from the aspect of foregone opportunity, well, it presents itself as the opportunity to engage people as people, irrespective of what I just said. So, if you're looking at it from the aspect of a cost that's not recognised because the way towards the market is presupposed, then that cost will never be given because the way is given to the degree that there's no option that presents itself. Well, then you look back and say, well, what would be the option? What's the option as far as what we're talking about? An option for what? Okay, what? All right, this is a thing that I always talk about, that when we are market orientated and it presupposes an orientation of business, it's not necessarily that they're focused on, as much as that the specific business might be focused on the individual specific good or service that they sell within a particular market. It's the legitimized orientation that also is carried with that. So that legitimizes the way towards life. So to be market orientated presupposes marketing and branding, but marketing and branding and the form of communication, the way how you make sense of your life, the way how you make sense of the opportunity towards life is always market orientated. So it legitimizes our way of life as being unquestioned, because if you accept marketing and advertising and branding as a given of our way of life, then you accept our market-orientated way of life also as a given. All right. So the option, when you're looking at the option, so you're literally looking at two alternatives. The alternative that presents itself, that can only be considered to be a cost when you're fully cognizant of what is open to us for people to reflect upon it in the manner that they now see what is open to them as an option that now presents itself to be considered to be a cost. Well, then it's the way how, if you were addressing people as people What are you marketing? What do you actually tell? What's the story? Because always business and brands in particular always talk. It's not about they always couch it as being it's not about selling. It's not cynical, but maybe it's cynicism in the sense that they start to use language that doesn't really relate to marketing and branding. So they talk about the story because it's all about, they realize that the story that they want to tell is they want to tell a story that's inspiring, but they only just sell shit. This is the thing. It's always, this is the stupid thing about it. They always go on about like, oh, we got this, have this story about, that's evocative, that will kind of pull at the heartstrings of people, but we're still going to sell you shit. All right. So this is, and why is it? So this is the reason why it can generate cynicism on the part of the end user or you as a person, is because you see through all of that bullshit. And why? Because the businesses define the opportunity according to a market, and as a result of that, any of their tactics or any of the ways towards that end is just presupposed in our way of life, because business considers that to be a given because they don't potentialize the way towards in light of a greater opportunity. So if you're looking at it from the aspect of opportunity cost presents itself both as far as the business goes, the way how it would orientate towards you as a person, and also what as an end user, so as a person, the way how you accept your reduction of agency as being defined as a consumer. Okay, so say for instance that you are a person that has a relationship in inverted commas with a business, so therefore you have loyalty, and yet you now know that the way how the business approaches you is really still defined by your agency's shared of you as a person is only as good as your wants. So therefore, in that regards, you are still beholden to a market opportunity. Now, if you can consider that relation in context with another relation, right? So that relation there is still, irrespective of whether or not they tout values and they're aligning with your values or whatever the case may be, it's immaterial. Like I said, if it's beholden to a market opportunity, the touting of value still tethers towards the want that is primary. All right, so if you're looking at it from the aspect of the opportunity that presents itself in the way how that you want to be engaged as a person, then the opportunity cost here is that, well, it's about your receptivity and your allowance of you to be approached in such a manner. So in that regards, it works off the same principle of loyalty, but not necessarily loyalty to a specific business. So it comes back to the story, like I was saying. So business always touts a story, but this touting of the story is always, they always have give the appearance, not the appearance, but they always tout how that this story is more than what it is. But like I said, it's always, this revolves around this selling stuff. I mean, because that's the modus operandi. That's the thing that they're primarily focused on. They might tout social goods, and so therefore you can say that they are aligning it with it. But like I said, if they're touting a social good in context that it's making good on your want, then they're not approaching the issue or the primary issue that we should be focused on if you're looking at opportunity cost, which is the opportunity for a way of life. Now, how do you do that? So this is the whole thing. You've got the story that it was engendered doesn't belong to a specific business. It cannot never belong to a business or an individual enterprise or even an individual person. So think about what that means. That what you have, if you could be approached where the story is about, okay, we've had this way of life for so long. There's an issue with our way of life. We are beholden to a spiritual disease. We want to create the world. We have the power to create it. But this is how we're going to do it. This is how you can partake. You can help towards that end. Okay. Now, if that's a story that is told, it's not beholden to one business. It's not beholden, like I said, it's not beholden to anybody. And through the acts of innumerable people that are focused, they have an understanding of what they're doing, okay? Then the issue here is that your loyalty that was tethered towards want becomes a loyalty that's no longer tethered to want. It's tethered towards creativity and about the way how you're being addressed as a person, All right, that's the option that presents itself. It's either tethered to want or really harnessing the creativity that you have as an individual, and so therefore goes to creativity. In that manner, the story that you would hear, that you normally your natural reflex, and this is the reflex that we do when we hear bullshit, because you just hear bullshit. Yeah, it's just businesses spruiking fucking values and all that other shit because they just want to sell shit. Okay, so that's because that's a story, and all the pathos that they put in towards all these things and everything. When you see these ads that they're beautiful ads, and then right at the end it comes down to something, and it's like a bank ad or something. It's just so, and you go, oh my fucking god. I mean, it's just so. It's so pathetic. So it's because it's so evocative of something that's really beautiful, but then and it just comes down to like selling insurance or selling or a bank or whatever, right? Because it's about life. This is the thing. It's about life, but it's the way towards it. So here you come along with a story, and that a business is part of an ecosystem. It's not beholden. It's not. They're not the ones that engender the story as much as that they are involved with the story, because the story is constantly evolving, because you're talking about a cultural emergence. Now, if the context in which you find yourself is to be market orientated and to be beholden to always you considering to be you always being approached as a consumer, and now all of a sudden a business is trying to approach you as a person. I always talked about this before, about the nature of cynicism. Then ultimately, cynicism can level off any opportunity otherwise. I mean, this is what we have to work through, because it's only because, branding and advertising is just an externality, and I always say this is an externality that you're meant to internalize. So when a communication comes from business, you're obviously taking it as pollution. Okay, it's a way of... They only make business sense, all right? So you understand, well, they're only just trying to make sense of the opportunity that they see. So it's just through business sense. It's not sense as far as the underlying issue of the spiritual disease, what is actually the cause, and then for having sense or having insight to not only to recognize what's at play, but then to advocate a way of surpassing that. Okay, so, because it comes from business, I mean, obviously this or business or the marginal way how they would approach you, you can obviously level off the opportunity that presents itself. The issue here is that if the story has purchase, as it were, if I can put it in such terms, which is probably, problematic, but there's something about that you understand, okay, if the, once again, it's how far it has to work through the dross that gets perpetuated. And I always come back to, because it's the way towards, which is always the issue. So when you're looking at the opportunity, you are literally looking at the opportunity of the way that a business can potentialize you as a person, or the agency that is left fallow when you consider yourself to be only a consumer. And essentially our whole way of life is just, we're supposedly consumers of life, and we're not creators of it. And so here you have the story of, well, this is a way how that we create the life, and this is a way how that we can demonstrate and actually do that. And this is the way how that we can potentialize, the economic good of your time, your time beyond the economic good that you receive it for, in a marginal way, to temporalize place, to create a common surpassing, to eventually merge the inside and the outside between, say, business and the outside, that we're oriented towards the means and the end, and the way how that we can be orientated more towards, what we hold out for ourselves, which is about more reverence towards life, a gratitude towards life, a different way of giving and receiving. And if we're giving it and receiving in a different way, then we ourselves give and receive. We receive ourselves differently. So if we're receiving ourselves no longer as a consumer then of life, then we're receiving ourselves as a creator of it. A creator that the no one that you are creates in the marginal way that you do create, because we're not all no ones. If we're market orientated, we're just consumers, we're just a mass blob. So you take the base of our way of life being a no one, but then the anonymity of those creative acts engender a cultural phenomenon that nobody can be responsible for. There's no one single person. And so, because it's a cultural dynamic, nobody owns the story. But it's whether or not you have, if there's enough, if there's something within you that the story that you hear, there's something about it that makes you stop and maybe not disarms you as far as cynicism goes. Okay, that's the little bit of a gap for you to see that opportunity that business is always considered to be just the market, and you yourself also considers the way towards life is just to be market orientated. There's potentially another way. And so through that exploration of maybe that little gap, you'll understand that the opportunity towards life, it's not a given as far as being beholden to a market-orientated way of life. You can literally potentialize a way of life that diverges from that. And so the more that you explore it, the more that you'll understand what's at play. What are we doing? And like I said, then the story evolves over time, because what you've got the context, you've got the crystallized understanding of, like I say, always when I talk about this, I'm just trying to crystallize people to get them to understand the actual issue at play in our way of life. And if you can see the singular cause of it, because it's singular in cause, it's just one cause. It's one cause. So you remove the one cause, and a lot of the things that are symptoms of our way of life will fall by the wayside, because you're removing the cause, the spiritual disease that we play host to. And so the only way, I always come back, it's just like, if you're looking at the way how you're potentializing, you're really looking at the opportunity to see life, or the opportunity towards life, in a different manner that you otherwise wouldn't see. And that's the start, I suppose. So, whether or not it starts from my bullshit that I always crap on about, and then to questioning that. And then it's like, I don't know how this thing would engender to have enough critical mass of people that are receptive to the idea, to kind of work in a manner that you're potentializing it where you are. Like I've said, potentialize your time beyond the economic good to potentialize, to temporalize place. It's critical. And then what you're doing is that you're crystallizing any of the abstractness that what I talk about, grounding it where you are with other people that share in the same thing. And then you've got this dynamic that's not beholden to a market dynamic or the way that we accept ourselves as marginal, and the way how that we can animate the indivisibility of our temporality, but we have to do it in the marginal way that we receive ourselves now. And so you're literally looking at a cultural emergence from a market-orientated way of life. And that's the opportunity cost. Then you'll start to see that actually all our actions, if you start to see how that significant people are, then you can orientate yourself towards a whole ecosystem of like-minded people and businesses that all share the same thing. And then all your agency goes towards not only your consumption in inverted commas, but then potentially, obviously, your labour in the way, but then it's what underwrites the dynamic, and then it just comes down to the understanding, and that's maybe the only thing that I could offer, if I can offer anything, is maybe just a way of understanding, the emergence, understanding maybe the what is put into play when you do something, and then giving it, kind of crystallizing it, where you got maybe like a framework that's a framework, but it's not crystallized. It's kind of malleable, because it depends upon where you are, about where you temporalize place. And so the difference will determine that. But you have kind of that as a base, as it were, or something to kind of work off. That's essentially the commonality, or the thread that would run through any other place that were to do the same thing, irrespective of where they were on the planet. Anyway. So yeah, I just thought that maybe looking at it from the aspect of opportunity costs, but from both business and from consumer inverted commas, is just one way of looking at the potential that, looking at the excluded middle of exchange and what exists there, because there's the opportunity that exists right in that excluded middle. And so depending on which side of it you look at, it will determine, the option and the opportunity to act contra to the given. And that hopefully, if there's enough people on either side of the that excluded middle, then you are potentializing the relation that engenders basically that cultural kind of dynamic. Anyway, until next time, take care.